Alright, this is a remake of a video that I made earlier yesterday, but then for some reason the file got corrupted and then I wasted my time making the video. So now I'm gonna remake the video, and anytime there's a remake, it's frustrating because then I have to reiterate everything that I said and try to see if I go through everything that I said, but it's just like, now it's trying to do like a brand new slate. But basically I want to talk about why I like to spar with beginners. And first I want to mention that, Bruce Lee himself would say in his books that he really felt a benefit of sparring with beginners because they're just so spontaneous. Like, you don't know what they're gonna do. It's like they're just unpredictable, and that's how a real fighting situation is. It's spontaneous. It's not predictable. You can't pre-plan out what's gonna happen because anything can happen. It's like out there in the streets, you don't know who's going to attack you. You don't know how big he's going to be. You don't know if it's going to be a man or a woman. You don't know if the person's going to be a judge, a lawyer, a police officer, a teacher, or whoever. You don't know what type of friends that they have. You don't know if there's going to be a retaliation. You don't know if they're in a gang. You don't know if they got a gun. You don't know if they got weapons. You don't know what's going to happen. It's not like the typical competition fight with some of these boxers where they know who their opponent is and then they're studying like 50 of their videos to analyze how they fight, and they pre-plan and they prepare and they strategize. Like, that's not what real street fighting is. It's just spontaneous. Somebody could just hit you in the back of the head with a pipe. Somebody could just do a drive-by shooting. It's just like very spontaneous. And when you work with beginners, you don't know what they're going to do. And that's one of the greatest benefits of working with beginners, is that, they're not trained in anything. They're just going to do what's natural. And once somebody is trained in something, they end up having patterns. Like, when I say key words, like, you know what pattern that they have. You have an idea of what their approach is to the combative situation. When I say wrestler, you know their approach. When I say BJJ, you know they like to fight on their backs. When I say Muay Thai, you know that they like to do the roundhouse kick. You know that they like to do elbows and knees. When I say boxing, you know that they love to punch. When I say Taekwondo, you know that they love kicking. It's like every label essentially tells you a lot about what approach that these individuals are going to have, and that already gives you an idea and allows you to plan. But in real fighting, there's no planning. There's just being in the moment, and you just don't know what they're going to do. And that's the beauty of it with working with the beginners. Other things about working with the beginners that I like is that it makes the sparring situation very realistic. Because the person is a beginner and because you're advanced, you could prevent yourself from being in great danger because of your skill level and your experience. Like, the person that you're sparring with can really be trying to hurt you. I mean, they could be making closed fists. They could be kicking as hard as they can. But because of your experience and your skill level, you're able to keep yourself safe. You're able to move away and get out the way. And then when you strike the person, because of your skill level and experience, you know that you're not going to hit the person too hard, to put them in the hospital or to cause some serious injuries. So then the person that is a beginner is safe because you have self-control, and then you become safe because of your experience. And then it becomes a very realistic experience because, the person is really trying hard, and they're really trying to hit you. And then you prevent yourself from getting hit, and then you deliver controlled hits back. But when you're sparring with somebody that's really advanced, now it gets dangerous because you both are trying to hit each other, and then you both try to hit each other hard. He hits you hard, and then you hit him right back really hard. You both end up getting bloody noses. Okay? He breaks your teeth, you break his teeth. He gouges your eye, you gouge his eye. He breaks your arm, you break his arm. It just goes back and forth. Either that, or you guys just never make contact because you guys are just that good. You do a roundhouse kick, he blocks it. he does it right back to you. You block it. He blocks all your attacks. You block all his attacks, and there's no contact. And when there's no contact, the public, they think it's boring. They like to see contact. But when you do see contact, then there's too many injuries. He gets broken ribs, you get broken ribs. It just goes, you both are just destroying each other. And you see it in the combat sport. Like, the people are just both so good, they end up knocking each other out. And then when you have the beginner, and you got an advanced person against the beginner, now you can really see the effectiveness of the training from the advanced person compared to the person that's untrained. And then the safety of the advanced person is not jeopardized because of his skill level, and then the safety of the beginner is not jeopardized because of the control of the advanced practitioner. So that is something that I see to be very, very apparent to me. Other things that I noticed too is, like, Bruce Lee himself would say it in his books, and then you also see it in his movies, where he's basically beating up a bunch of beginners. A lot of his movies, like, he's going into Japanese school, he's like surrounded by all these white, these beginners. They might have black belts, but they're still beginners. And then he spars against a master, and he's a beginner, he destroys him. But then there's certain scenes where he's fighting against Chuck Norris and fighting against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, fighting against Danny Insano. Now these people are more advanced, so he just goes one-on-one with each one of them, takes their time. But then there's always a bunch of beginners chasing after him, like in End of the Dragon, people are chasing him around, he just whoops them all up. And he's just fighting with the beginners all the time in the movies, and he's highlighting his skills and abilities and being able to remain untouched, unfazed by these beginners. But then when he's fighting somebody that's highly skilled, there's like exchange back and forth. He gets sliced up by somebody, and then, then he hits them back, and then, Chuck Norris hits him a few times, and he hits Chuck Norris back. It goes back and forth, and it's like he's showing the difference between fighting beginners and the difference between fighting people that are advanced. And even Mayweather, undefeated. I think he's like 49-0, and he never lost a boxing match. But I would say probably over 30 of his boxing matches are with people that are not even close to his level. He's basically boxing with a bunch of beginners, just racking up his wins. Like, he remains untouched. He's delivering all the blows. He's evading all their attacks. And he just basically remains healthy and untouched, unfazed. His face is just flawless because he didn't even get hit once. And then he hit the other person like 400 times. And then he wins the boxing match. I'm telling you, like, over 30 of his fights are going to be like that. And then there's going to be a few fights, that he really has to strategize, like somebody like a Pacquiao, and like, somebody like a Mosley, or, the Oscar De La Hoya, people that give him a challenge. He really has to set up the fight, each match very strategically to give himself an advantage. He's going to take whatever advantage he can, and use it against them. And he would make sure that he's very, very precise and careful when he boxes them, because he knows that one punch could end, one punch could pretty much mean his first loss. There's no room for mistakes. When you're fighting against people that are advanced, there's no room for mistakes. That's why in the cage you see people just like getting knocked out within the first few seconds, and you see people, it's like they're undefeated, and they end up losing to like a nobody, because it's like when two people are advanced, like one wrong move could just end it. And that's how a knife fight is. That's how swords play is. That's how a gunfight is. Just one mistake can end it, and that's when you're talking about advanced training, like people that are advanced fighting against each other. Anything could happen. You don't know what's going to happen, and it gets very, very dangerous. And you guys always got to realize that these people that you're watching, they're making millions of dollars. Mike Tyson making millions. Muhammad Ali made millions. Mayweather makes millions. Pacquiao makes millions. Like, these people are all making millions of dollars, and that's why they're putting their lives at risk. But 99.9% of everybody else, the people that are watching all this stuff, and and using these people as inspiration to start fighting themselves, they're not making any money. If anything, they're losing money. They're paying money to be in the boxing gym. They're paying money for instruction. And then when they get hurt, they got to pay the medical bills. And then they end up getting concussions. They end up getting broken bones. They end up dying early, and they're not making any money out of it. So it's like, it doesn't make sense for any of us to jeopardize our own health and put ourselves at risk of dying early, of sustaining serious injuries for no pay. These professional athletes are getting paid a lot of money to do what they do. And I can understand that. Even though I don't agree with what they are doing, I could understand them doing it for the money. And if we have that type of same mentality, I think we'll make some smarter decisions. Because when we know that we're not getting paid, and then we're putting our lives at risk, we're putting our health at risk, unpaid, then we'll be like, you know what, this ain't worth it. I'd rather do something else with my time. It's like, you working at wherever, McDonald's, and then they offer you, not only do they not pay you, but then they tell you you gotta pay them. All right, you work here at McDonald's, do 80 hours a week, and you pay us $2,000 a month. I mean, anybody in the right mind is gonna be like, no, you crazy? I'm not going to work for you for free, and in addition, I gotta pay my own money to you. No. But if they said, hey, you know what, we're gonna hire you here at McDonald's, and we'll give you $1 million a year, then yeah, I can understand why people will be gung-ho about working at McDonald's for $1 million a year. So these fighters are making millions of dollars to spar unintelligently. Okay, I could understand that, because I could understand the greedy mentality, the mind after money. But I don't understand the idea of putting your life at risk, putting your health at risk for no pay, for nothing. I think that we need to be much more intelligent than that. But yeah, that's what I really recommend, is for people to really realize the benefits, the advanced practitioner to realize the benefits of working with beginners. And for beginners, they're always going to benefit from the situation because they don't have to worry about too much about themselves getting hurt. But yet they get to learn how to get better at fighting and get better at sparring. And the advanced person, he could really, really fine-tune his techniques, demonstrate his techniques, and just show and highlight the effectiveness of his techniques without having to jeopardize this person's well-being, because they have great control over their techniques. And then they also don't have to jeopardize their own health, because the beginner is just not at that level of where they could cause them great harm. So I really see that that's a huge benefit that goes to both parties. Rather, when you have two people that are really advanced, like two martial art masters, it's just a recipe for disaster, because neither martial art master wants to back down, and they're pretty much fighting to death. And that's pretty much what Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee were doing in that movie. But then there's people that are trying to do that in real life, and that's just something that is just horrible. It's just to me, it's not too different than just gang violence, and that's just something that needs to stop. Okay, you got one gang that got guns, you got another gang that got guns. I mean, just respect each other, leave each other alone. You got one martial art master running a school, another martial art master running a school. Just do your own thing. Don't be violent when you come together. If you do come together, then come together out of respect and peace, and just respect each other's ways, but don't become violent. So that's the thing that I see, that's really important.